Right, let's get going. So, Aíron, Doire or Doire?
Derry.
Derry, like Derry.
Literally,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so Derry, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on our podcast. We are at episode number 51. So normally I don't introduce people like this. This is a first for me as well. So you guys are from Our Future, Our Choice Northern Ireland. If you want to give us a little idea of what Our Future, Our Choice does and how you got involved first, just to set us up for the interview.
So basically we are a youth organisation that are campaigning for a people's vote. So we're cross-community and non-party affiliated in Northern Ireland, and that was something that was really important because we didn't want the usual green and orange lines that are always within politics in Northern Ireland. So basically we came together. It's nearly our first birthday. I think we're a month off from it, which is lovely. We came together last year as a group, and it was the first time that I'd ever met Aíron and all the rest of the guys last year. And basically it was young people who were passionate about stopping, the disastrous consequences that are inevitably going to come from Brexit, but also putting it back to the people and saying, if this is really what you want, then yes, that's absolutely fine. But so much has changed in the last 3 years, and it's not anywhere near what it was supposed to be or what a lot of people visioned Brexit was going to be. So, if you have changed your mind, that's fine, and that's something that was really important to all of us anyway.
And I think I got involved to the past work I had in cross-community relations and youth work, and it was through that connection that I got involved, and it was for that reason of the consequence that this will have. And I think that's why most of us got involved. So a lot of us, 3 out of 5, have cross-community youth work backgrounds, and I think that is essential to what our group is. We're a cross-community group, non-party, and that is the core of Northern Ireland, where we see the future to be in Northern Ireland, where we see now we have DUP and Sinn Féin fighting among each other, as always, and it's something that we look at and discuss. Because it's not the politics we want to live in or what our future wants to be in. So I think Our Future, Our Choice is centred around a better future, and to get that, you need to stop Brexit to get there, and you have to stop Brexit in a democratic way, and our people's vote is the means and ways of doing that.
So basically you decided that Northern Ireland politics was too binary, and that the constitutional question being the main issue in which we divide ourselves was silly because it's so one side or the other. There's no way to find a compromise in it. So what you did is you took that and thought, okay, let's pick something else that's definitely not really binary and really divisive, and let's talk about that instead.
Yeah.
Yep.
But even when you look at it though, that's the thing, we've said there's so many issues in Northern Ireland that are community based, and when you look at Brexit, it's overarchingly going to impact everybody badly. There's now no community that can say we're going to come out of this looking really good, be you nationalist, unionist, other, it doesn't matter. And I think the main point behind it was actually uniting people and saying, number one, that young people need a voice, because the DUP are the voice that we have in Westminster, and for so many people living here, it doesn't represent their views on things. It's just a really difficult political situation that Sinn Féin don't take their seats and things like that. But we knew that we needed more young people involved as well, and that they actually needed to be able to, go to Parliament and say, this is what young people in schools in Northern Ireland have said, and this is what they want, and actually how they feel.
Yeah, that's the lack of young people wanting to be involved in Northern Irish politics is quite depressing in a way. But yourselves are providing a shining example to the rest of us. So, one of the biggest issues around Brexit, which was essentially not discussed, I think, there was a couple of people mentioned it, but really not discussed it at any length, was the Irish border question. Why do you think there's so little understanding of why there just should not be any sort of border or border infrastructure there between the Republic and the North of Ireland? Why do you think it's such a critical issue, and why is it so badly misunderstood?
I think for a lot of the British politicians don't understand it, and for us that's what we kind of try to do. Is we've went over to England so many times, into London, to kind of try to explain to English politicians why, and I think that's what a lot of politicians here have tried to do as well, because they have a notion that it doesn't mean anything and it's nothing, but this is everyday life. People live, work, study across that border like it's nothing. Family live across the border, go to the shop, 5 minutes down the road, you cross that border. It is invisible, and for people that is a very important thing, and I think it's something to maintain in that. And although it will maybe physical, the border, it is psychological as well. That idea of nationalists look to Dublin for their government, therefore for their identity, and identity is a massive role in politics in Northern Ireland, as we all know. People look at that border and say, that's infrastructure. That's cutting us off. That's making us closer to the union. And for a lot of people from basically half of the community, the other side of the community in Northern Ireland, that's a big thing, and that's a big thing that hits home. And talking to British politicians that they don't have an idea. For example, Think 32, a United Ireland campaign, they put out a poll kind of thing where people in England tried to draw the border of where it is on that end.
Oh God, that's got to be
It is
funny.
beautiful.
And that was halfway down the island of Ireland, basically cutting across Dublin. The border cutting across Dublin, where it's nowhere near, it's about an hour away from Dublin.
It actually is amazing.
So for us looking at Northern Irish citizens who are part of the United Kingdom as of now, you look at our other citizens and you watch these people draw the border halfway down the island of Ireland. It shows the idea that they have no clue of what's going on here. And for us, that's deeply sad, where you have those people voting to leave the European Union, but not knowing the consequences that will have. Like in West Belfast, we had one of the lowest turns in the EU referendum, and it wasn't even, I don't think the Europe issue was even talked about in West Belfast or in Northern Ireland. A lot of the campaign was minute here. Well, from my opinion, it was anyway. And you look at it, and it wasn't a successful campaign. But obviously Northern Ireland did vote to remain, but it wasn't a massive turnout. And for that's deeply depressing. We're now 3 years on. A lot of people are more engaged. A lot of people are more saying, right, people did vote for this, but is it what you really voted for? And Poland and our own talking to people.
Do you know what the turnout was in Northern Ireland? That's an interesting question.
45, was it 44.8? I think
It was
something.
44.8%.
It was really, really low. Like it was scarily.
44. That is.
Yeah, it was scarily
It was
low.
below half.
Yeah, it was below half, which is really terrifying because, like, now if you go and talk to people, like, I live about a mile from the border, and even a lot of journalists have come over. So, like, I've met journalists from as far as China that have come and they've been like, "Will you take me to the border?" And it's so funny. Like, I remember there was a couple of Chinese journalists. We got out of a taxi and they were like, "Where is it?" I was like, "You're just standing." And I was like, "You're on either side of the border." And they were like, "But there's nothing here." And I was like, "That is exactly the point."
That's the point. It's a field.
being
There is a
made, like,
field.
there's
This is the border. There's nothing there.
And, like,
And that's what people want to change.
There's children that I've spoken to in schools who've been like, "Listen, you know, my nearest ATM is on the other side of the border. Like, am I going to be able to get to that if there's a no deal?" Like, and it's really stupid things that you wouldn't even consider. Like, you don't think, "God, that's my closest ATM," or if I'm going to buy bread, or if you're going on a night out. Like, I know, like, I go on nights out in Dundalk, and my sister lives in Dublin, so it's kind of like, where is that going to go? And I think for a lot of people, it just wasn't talked about. Like, I remember people in my area were saying there's definitely going to be a difference, and my parents being like, you know, "I don't want it to go back to there being checks at the border," and there's an army checkpoint like a mile from my house, and they were like, "Oh, you know, it'll go back to that." And I was like, my dad exaggerates things. So I was like, "Well, there definitely won't be." And then it was kind of like, well, there's no way around this other than some form of infrastructure, and I don't think anybody even thought about that in 2016. I just don't even think.
Like, a lot of young people will go away on nights out and they'll bring their passport for a form of identity to get into the club. Now people are talking about bringing their ID to cross a border. It's that thinking.
Yeah.
It's everyday life that is coming into play.
That's got to be quite concerning to think. Which politicians did you find kind of had the least understanding of the issue? Like, what was their response when you were trying to explain to them, like, that this is something that will affect people every single day?
Tory MPs.
It was probably
Andrew
just-
Brigham, for example.
Really?
Yeah.
You're telling me he was sort of unsympathetic to your
No,
concerns?
imagine.
Yeah, I haven't met him personally, no, but on the airwaves,
Yes.
completely ridiculous.
Well, Theresa Villiers also went on the BBC and tried to claim that there was no hard border ever.
And I think that's very scary coming from a former
Even Boris Johnson, who compared the border between the border of Camden and Islington, like boroughs in London, and that man tomorrow is more than likely going to be the Prime Minister. Like, and even any other politicians that we've met have basically told us, you know, don't worry about it. Young people shouldn't be panicking about this. We're going to get it all sorted. It's going to be totally fine.
And it's that kind of ignorance and patronising that we've got. For example, we met the current Defence Secretary, Penny Mordaunt, walking through Parliament, and her line to us was, "Yous will be okay. Yous will be okay."
We'll be okay.
And that was it.
Yeah,
that was
we'll get it sorted.
No
You'll be
explanation.
okay.
No proposal. You will be okay.
What do you make of the talk that the backstop is basically being, well, Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson were both very happy to kind of throw it out the door, and then on top of that you had polling done by YouGov that said that Conservative Party members, a majority would be happy to lose Northern Ireland as part of the UK just to get Brexit in whatever form that actually means. And the same night, they would actually happily lose Scotland, a majority. They would happily put the UK in recession and destroy the Conservative Party itself, all just to get Brexit. Like, does that make you feel like a welcomed part of the United Kingdom, or do you think that a lot of people in England kind of see us as a nuisance?
I actually think it's really sad. So, like, we obviously have unionist members in our group, and the Conservative Party we have met, like Dominic Gray, for instance, believes so strongly in the union, and I think it's really sad that people are, number one, coming out with that sentiment, because I think a lot of people feel like they're part of the United Kingdom, and I think for Brexit, that seems so pointless and wasteful and destructive to then tear the United Kingdom apart. I think it's just a really horrible political situation to be in, and I feel really bad for any politicians. Like Theresa May has always said that the union is something that she values, and she has destroyed her career on the basis of trying to find some middle ground that keeps everybody happy. Like, I just feel awful, and like it's a really horrible situation that's happening at the minute.
Like Theresa May, like, as much as she tried to get Brexit done, she tried it, and I have completely different views to her. She tried, she put herself out to get there, and she got a deal that was 500 pages long. Although it got rejected, it was a deal that was compromised. It was compromised by her, compromised by the European Union, and it protected Northern Ireland. The backstop did protect Northern Ireland. What we have said as a group is, although we want to stop Brexit, if there is going to be any Brexit, that backstop needs to be there. It's an insurance policy. And for the two people in the leadership contest, the Tory party, to say that it's dead and it's in the bin is ridiculous. The backstop is an insurance policy to people's lives, to people's livelihoods, and how they function in everyday life. And I think the EU understands that, the Irish government understands that, and I think the UK politicians need to understand that as well. Although they may think of their unicorn and how they want to deliver their unicorn isn't. The unicorn is donkey, and it's not going to work.
The unicorn is a donkey. Yeah, the unicorn is a slightly strange thing. But like, with all that talk of being happy to lose Northern Ireland and the kind of broad misunderstanding of what exactly the border is, do you think that any sort of damage that might come to cross-border communities and trade and just sort of like life for people on the island of Ireland, it is kind of pushing towards the inevitability of a united Ireland? Like, Hans, the first person to admit I don't think that's a good idea. Yeah. Like, culturally, we're clearly part of the island, but like being part of the union is also there, and we get a lot of money and the NHS, which is great for now, and as long as it still actually exists. Do you think that all this talk is just making a united Ireland more inevitable? Do you think that kind of proves that the UK wouldn't exactly put up a fight to keep us in the same way they did with Scotland, because we're not really contributing anything economically to the United Kingdom, aside from providing, businesses from London a place to put up cheap offices?
I think over like the last sort of year, we've noticed more and more that there's been talk of a united Ireland, and obviously Sinn Féin are really, really pushing for that, and I don't personally think it's the right time. I don't think in the middle of something that is a disaster like Brexit, I think to throw a border poll in on the top of that is absolute madness. I just don't know why anybody would want to do that. But I do think there has been more and more emphasis put on that. And I think a lot of people, if faced with the choice of a no-deal Brexit, it's going to absolutely destroy my economy and my life, and I'm not going to be able to do anything. So if we just unite the island of Ireland and we're all members of the EU as an entire island together, I think that there would be people who would take it as the least worst option, even if it wasn't something they believed in.
The Poland is suggesting that a Brexit, like just any Brexit, is still increasing the increase of the possibility of United Ireland, but a hard Brexit or a no deal, it puts it to the roof. It basically puts a majority of people wanting United Ireland, and that is for the sake of ease, money in their pockets. People nowadays in Northern Ireland, especially young people, don't care about identity. They obviously have an inkling there of what it means to them, but it's not about will they get jobs, will they be able to travel, will they be able to find people who that makes friends with, etc., and build those connections. It's what people are caring about. It's about the economy. And if that push comes to shove, people will vote for that reason. And if that leaves United Ireland, I agree totally with Derry. that right now we are in a constitutional crisis as it is, so you don't need to throw in another one on top of that.
What do you mean? It's been 900 days.
Only.
God, guys.
It's fleeing, but it is dragging.
Well, no, like the Open over the weekend was just like an absolutely fantastic like display of all of the amazing things this country is capable of. If like, well, what was it my friend said, but I said, yeah, the idiots on the hill would like sort themselves out. And he went, no, well, you can't call them the idiots on the hill because they're not on the hill.
Idiots in their homes,
So
doing their paychecks for being on the hill.
The idiots not on the hill.
Well, just like the American tourists are coming over here, and like big wealthy investors, like many golf players and golf supporters are wealthy, and with that comes business and comes economic growth. And what they put into Google, Northern Ireland, what's going to come up?
RHI.
RHI, UVF,
government.
threatening bonfires very recently, health service falling apart, no government. Who these wealthy businessmen going to lobby?
I know, but then you come
Retail
here
AI.
and it's all so fun. Like Northern
It's fun.
Ireland
It is
awesome.
a beautiful, beautiful country, but for certainty for business and economic growth, where do you go?
Well, all the commentary over the weekend, they just literally did not shut up about how amazing the atmosphere was,
Yeah.
and how beautiful the country was,
Yeah.
and how like fantastic a job they'd done with the course and the organisation. I was blown away at how fucking smooth everything ran. But to get back on
Have to mention it.
yeah, like with the United Ireland thing, I kind of feel that they are in a way sort of laying the groundwork for the idea so that it doesn't spring out of nowhere given a hard Brexit. That I don't think they're suggesting that we do it right now. I'm suggesting, or I think that they're kind of putting the idea out there to go like, well, you know, if we have a hard Brexit, then this is the avenue that we should go down, so that then if that happens, that people don't go, well, you know, you never mentioned this before, you're just being opportunistic, which they probably still are being opportunistic, but in a more prepared way. Now we're set to leave on October 31st. Potentially.
Are we?
We'll
We're
see.
not.
Probably not, unless Boris Johnson creates some, unless his tactic, which seems to be tell the EU that you're unblinkingly serious about leaving with no deal, to the extent that they actually believe that you're that crazy, and at that point they will go, ooh, maybe we have to back down, or maybe we have to give them something. But I'm not sure it's a particularly convincing act, given that his own party is basically telling him no.
Yeah.
It's kind of, someone put a great video up of what is the film called? Blazing Saddles, and it's the Gene Wilder scene, and he's like pointing a gun to his head and he's just being like, you know, anybody moves and he gets it, and like the gun to his own head. And someone looks at it, it's like, somebody help that poor man. So, and that's quite reminiscent of the negotiation tactics. But do you think that we will leave on October 31st? Is that like even a slight distinct possibility?
No. So the European Commission doesn't come back to the 1st of November officially. They may have some informal bilateral talks before then, but nothing officially will happen. Do you really think Boris Johnson will go in on November the 1st and negotiate a deal in 2 months that Theresa May hasn't negotiated in 3 years? It's never going to happen. Although there might be goodwill there, because obviously a new government coming in, that may get more potential, new negotiations. But 2 months compared to three years, it won't happen.
And it's, you know, him.
Yeah, exactly. It's Boris Johnson. Like, he's the Donald Trump of the UK. And that is what many people view him as. That's why I view him as. He's just someone who... He may get votes, but does he get votes for the right reasons? I don't think so.
I think there's still potential for accidental no deal though. Like
Yes.
that is now
Which is very,
the
very
default,
scary.
which is really that's more my concern, that the European Union will say you've had all the time. There is absolutely no difference here, and as much as they would be obviously putting themselves in a really bad position, I do still think that at some stage they have to say enough is enough. Like, you are not helping us at all. We've now given you an extension and you've squandered your time on infighting within the Tory party. I doubt a no deal will happen, but it could potentially happen accidentally, which is just terrifying.
Well, just to say, on back of what Derry says, the idea that we had two people in the leadership contest, and both would not roll out. Well, I think Jeremy Hunt kind of ruled it out, but pro-open Parliament, shutting down Parliament. Like, the rest of the world looks to the UK for their democracy. It works. It may be a long process, it may be a very boring process, but it works. It is democracy. It is the essence of democracy. But then you have a future probably the Prime Minister will find out tomorrow, coming in and saying, if I don't get my way, I'm going to tell you to go home. And this is what it looks like it's going to happen. He may shut down Parliament. And where does that leave you? Where does that leave democracy? Where does that leave what our country is based on?
Yeah.
And it's it's a scary reality to look at, to have a Prime Minister just tell the elected representatives of the country that although you have a different view to me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, it is a scary thought. What do you make of his suggestions that he's going to hire Michael Gove as Northern Ireland Secretary, given his ideological opposition to the Good Friday Agreement and his description of it as pandering to terrorists?
Well, we have this thing in Northern Ireland where all our Secretary of States seem to be completely atrocious. Karen Bradley, for example.
We did meet Michael Gove. He was actually quite nice to us. I mean, he was a really, really...
I bet he was.
He was a lovely man, very reasonable, stopped and chatted, but just
seemed very reasonable.
Did
like any
did not, though, want to listen to anything we said. Like, it was like you could have told him that the roof was falling in on top of him, and if it had been, he would have been like, no, it's not, no, it's definitely not. Like, he just didn't take anything on board, which is, always great to have that as your Secretary of State. That's pretty exciting. Lovely prospect.
Yeah, lovely to have a person that our whole institutions, our whole governments, our whole society is built on the Good Friday Agreement. To have someone who's coming in who's opposed to it, but you put that in context where you had the DUP who are diametrically opposed to it, and they're our biggest party and we still function. So there is that kind of there's a light at it, but it would I think it shows how we're viewed, and where we get sent someone who doesn't have a clue about Northern Ireland, don't know what way people vote. In essence, to what our country is about. We have two communities; they're diametrically opposed. And then you have a Secretary of State, Karen Bradley, coming in and doesn't know that. Like, even look at the officials in Northern Ireland.
It sounds so much worse when you say it out loud.
Yeah, in the Northern Ireland office, like, who's briefing Karen Bradley in the Northern Ireland office?
It just shocked me, that somebody didn't sit her down for a minute. Really,
even 5 minutes.
Like an hour. You could sit someone down for an hour and be like, okay, so
this
is what happens. This is how this works. You're going to Northern Ireland. It's a little bit different, but we've put together some notes for you to read on the plane, maybe if you have time.
YouTube video.
Literally, though, it's just shocking. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll make Michael go for.
Do you know how much that she gets paid?
I'm sure
a cabinet secretary position is £140,000 a year plus expenses.
And her expenses are a lot. She accepts a lot of gifts. That was published a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
A lot of tournament gifts and a lot of gifts to different tickets to things.
Such as things in Northern Ireland.
Oh yeah, like the Northern Ireland games, the finals and stuff that were happening. A lot of it was a lot of like the Gaelic games and stuff. She accepted a lot of all those gifts. The receipt, they were posted one day, and you see the date received and the date accepted. Same day. This is what she does when she should be having party talks to get her government back.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to have a look at that.
No, you definitely should. It is very interesting to watch and to look at how the Northern Ireland office works.
I don't understand how you could get paid a job for £140,000 a year and not do like the tiniest bit of background research.
Yeah. Like, I used to work in Lush, and I was getting paid like £8 an hour, but if I didn't know the ingredients that were in like a bath bomb, I got in trouble. Like, that was on a very basic level. If you don't know,
I'm on £6 an hour.
That's quite an apt sort of
like literally
metaphor, isn't it?
Literally though, it really does. And like, I put in more effort into learning Lush products than she does about like an entire region of the UK that she is responsible for. Yeah,
she's responsible for our country.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, aside from that, where do you think we are going with this then, if we're unlikely to leave on the 31st of October, aside from accident or miracle negotiation? Do you see us actually still leaving the European Union? Do you think we will get another vote on it? Do you think it'll just be unilaterally revoked by Parliament because there's no workable solution? Do you think that we're headed for a general election with like probably the craziest set of results that we've ever seen? What do you think? What's your outlook?
I don't think there's going to be a general election. I think that would be like complete idiocy for the Tory party. I mean,
You think so?
I know it's pretty
What
much...
are they polling? Joint fifth?
Yeah, but the poll numbers for them not delivering Brexit or not delivering a successful Brexit are way worse than they are right now.
Yeah. I mean, they've said that if there was... Basically, I think I read an article that said that the only way they could successfully win a general election would be if they made a pact with the Brexit party. So, I mean, you look at that...
You're going to rule that out from Boris Johnson?
It's just, like, number one, why would they do that to themselves? Number two, why would they do that to the country? Because that would be an absolute disaster. And then I don't even think it fixes the problem either. I don't even think... If you then have a new government of the Brexit party and the Conservative party, where do you go from there? I mean, I don't think there's any solution other than a second referendum to say, this is, the deal you have on the table. We can either leave with this deal, potentially leave with no deal. I mean, I doubt people are going to vote for that, but I don't actually see any other way out at this stage.
We've now realised that we're 3 years on, people voted on a yes or no binary choice, to leave or not. And to leave meant so many different options. Michael Gove had a version of leaving, Boris Johnson had a version of leaving, Nigel Farage had a version of leaving. So everyone has a different version, and to try to unite a whole branch of people to 52%, if you try to unite that around one thing, would be very difficult, and it's proven very difficult. And we've now realised that we're 3 years on and we're trying to untangle 40 years of interconnecting legislation, partnership, connections, and trying to untangle that and separate us is extremely difficult, and it's been proven very, very difficult. And I think people now realise that it may not be what people wanted or what people think it may have been as easy to do, and I think that will be a consequence of that. People start to realise that the only way forward is a second referendum. It has to deliver something. So the idea in the Good Friday Agreement, people voted on a deal, and on that deal you could read it, and if you voted for the deal, that was the outcome you would get. In the Brexit referendum, you voted for something, and then it was to be negotiated and then implemented. But now, if you put a deal to the table, if you put Theresa May's deal to the public, or remain in the status quo, then people will know what they're leaving on. Like, there's the terms, there's your exact terms of what you're leaving on. Even if that is no deal, you know what no deal, may know what no deal means, WTO. Like, you know what that means for us. You know the exact terms. People can read that if they want to read that and say, so it's either remaining or it's that. And I think that's the main thing that went wrong then. And I think it'll be a lesson that people can learn. For example, in Northern Ireland, if there's going to be a border poll, that you need to give people the deal to look at and to vote in that reason.
Yeah. An actual tangible something as to what it is. Like, I think that, and we work with people in London, and some of them voted leave, and they said that they thought, I want to leave, and then like 6 months later, it just wasn't anywhere near what number one anybody thought it was going to be, or what was promised. I mean, people were lied to. Like, that is a fact of the matter. I actually found our leave leaflet that came through the door the other day, and I was just reading it. They were like, the Northern Ireland border will be absolutely not a problem. Like, that's written on the leaflet that was sent in the door, and I was like, how wrong they were 3 years ago.
It's not the biggest hurdle to get over.
Yeah.
I would disagree with that statement.
The hurdle?
Yeah, I don't think it's the biggest hurdle.
But the backstop's the biggest hurdle. And that's that the backstop is the Northern Irish border.
Yeah, but I don't think that's the biggest thing stopping it.
What do you think it is?
I think the biggest thing stopping it is the sovereignty question for like most of the what Tim Shipman calls the paleo skeptics, all the old guard. Like, they don't care. That's not they're happy to just throw away. They don't care about it. For them, the biggest issue is control of legislation. Like, they would happily just throw us under the bus. That's not like the thing that that was not their biggest issue with the withdrawal agreement. It wasn't that it didn't fix the Northern Irish border. It's that we would have had to still take EU laws.
Yeah. Well, that is another thing as well. Like, we met with a lot of people who have said, like, they don't care what happens. Like, actually some of the MPs we've met were like, we don't care what happens, we just want to be able to decide for ourselves what we do. And it's kind of like, but you still you still won't be able to. I mean, there's going to be years and years of negotiating with other people and then trying to work things like that out. It just doesn't make any sense.
Just 2 points I want to make, and then I got a question for you. Is that you say it's going to be World Trade Organization, WTO? I just want to point out how crazy that is for everyone. we have to then set our own trading schedules and customs rules with every single country, and we can say, okay, just leave them as they are. Right, but then because we're in that weakened position, we are open to being sued on every tiny little trade detail by every single one of the 198 trading countries in the entire world. We are open to being sued by all of them all at once. Like that's the craziest situation, and it's completely unprecedented. And there's estimates that it could take 10 to 20 years to figure out where we would stand on different tiny little issues, and that every single industry from every single country will try and attack us on the basis that we have no choice but to accept their small complaints and then give up more and more of our actual sovereignty because we have no choice but to agree to trade on the terms that they're saying. About 33% of EU laws and trade regulations are set by the World Trade Organization or other bodies that are above the EU in terms of international trading standards, and we would still be taking all of those rules. For example, Norway don't bother lobbying the EU on fishing laws. They go straight above the EU to international, worldwide recognised trading schedules, and they lobby them there, and then they get handed down to the EU, who rubber stamps them because it's the internationally accepted standard that's already been agreed by all the countries. And there's so many things that are so badly misunderstood about trade. When I was talking to two people about it, and then they were just kind of the sky won't fall in, no deal will be fine, whatever, everything will just keep going, it'll be alright. And I can't get over the unbelievable level of just sort of, I don't know what to call it, blasé-ism, that's just everyone's yeah, whatever, it'll be alright, I don't honestly believe they can envision how bad that is.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that they honestly believe that a country could inflict such horrendous damage on its own citizens, willingly, that no one could possibly be that stupid that they wouldn't destroy their own economy just to get something completely yeah.
But it's that idea of Boris Johnson, the do or die. It's that mentality that...
Fair play to I can't remember who the journalist was, but they put those words in his mouth.
But do or die, that's yes, I want something, I'm going to burn my house down to get that. Mm-hmm. You're burning down your own house, and you're burning down your family with it. You're killing your family at the same time. You're killing the people of the country.
Yeah, but I've met business
there's people at the bottom of the ladder in our country, and many that will probably my family included in that West Belfast very working class area, that will be most affected by this WTO no deal thing. And you see people outside Parliament, they have placards saying WTO is okay.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I guess then it comes down to a sort of it's a principles versus economics thing. But Northern Ireland is set to lose. I think the Treasury projections are 40,000 jobs in 6 months.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's because if you that doesn't sound like a lot, right? But then if you translate that into say the size of the British economy, that's equivalent to 1.4 million jobs.
Yeah.
If you scale that out, just give you an idea of what that impact would be UK wide. Obviously Northern Ireland is going to be worse hit, so it's you can't make that comparison, but it's good to give you a figure in terms of percentage wise. That's how many jobs equivalent you'd be looking at in England. And I don't think anyone would be pushing anything for England that was going to lose them 1.4 million jobs.
But that's 40,000 jobs, 40,000 people, 40,000 families, 40,000 shops. And this just it's economics. It's like a drop in the throw stone into water. The ripple effect that will have. It'll just hit businesses, the sectors, the governments. It'll hit everyone. The banks. It'll hit that will just spread out and hits everyone. And then it just ripples back again, and it comes back and wipes everyone out.
Because we're we're in the top 10 poorest areas in the whole of Northern Europe in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, and West Belfast in Northern Ireland was at one stage the highest deprived, socially and economically deprived area in Northern Ireland. And the European Union's done so much in Northern Ireland. Like, I am not the biggest I'm not the biggest European. Like, I wouldn't say the European Union is amazing. I'm a very reform guy. It does need reform. But they've done a lot of stuff. They've brought our peace. They've helped our peace. The amount of investment they've put into our countries. Those gliders look to Belfast City Centre, them big purple buses. Look at the stickers on the side of them.
It's not a start with the gliders.
Yeah, I know. As much as the objections to them, they're funded by the European Union. There's investment funds by them.
Yeah.
West Belfast has got so much investment from that. I've done so much cross-community programmes, which is funded through the European Union, Peace 5 funding.
Yeah, even when you look, we did like a lot of research. I was researching like where has been given peace funding, and I literally don't think there's any part of Northern Ireland that has some infrastructure or programme and it's things you wouldn't think as well. Like, I looked it up and it was like, programmes for elderly people, and like it's loads and loads of things that are like all societal, like it's everybody included, that they were like, you know what, actually you've obviously come through a really difficult time in your history, and we're going to put funding into that to make your lives better if we can. Obviously it's not going to fix everything, but
and the whole idea of the European Union, yes, we may pay more than we get back in the UK in general, but that whole idea is you pay more and you build other economies up in our club that we all want to be a part of. You build economy up and everyone rises up at the same time, and you just get bigger and better. And that's the whole purpose of the European Union. Although there is problems with bureaucracy, etc., there is the way it works is you just get bigger, and it impacts us, and it gives us those opportunities to get better and educate ourselves, to travel. And it's those small things that, a lot, like when we go into schools, people are saying, I have a British passport, can I go to Spain in the summer? Can I go on my family holiday to Spain because I have a British passport? Well, I have to stand in the long queue, the non-EU line. And then you have people who have British...
See, I have that horror.
I have that.
Every time I walk into an airport. Well, thankfully I have my Irish passport form at home and I need to fill that out.
I'm in the same boat.
See, but you have people who are unionists, students who have the option in front of them. Do I forfeit my identity for the sake of having those opportunities? And for people in Northern Ireland, that is a big thing that they have to do. And I don't think many people won't do it. And that it's quite sad that it's came to that point.
It is a very sad situation that we happen to be in, unfortunately. Why do you think voters are so okay with that no deal idea? Like, why do you think people are just so like, yeah, it'll be fine?
I think they're so done. Like, I think a lot of people have seen years of Brexit on the news, and I now think so many people are like I know there's a lot of my friends who are like, please stop talking about it. They're like, we've had enough. They're like, I don't care what happens. It can't be that bad. I just want it done. Like loads of my friends.
Not dealing with domestic issues.
Yeah, they're just, and like I think so many people, even my mum now is getting to the point where like I'll be talking about it, she's like, Dee, please.
Just shut up.
Like, she was like, is there nothing? She was like, does anything else happen in Parliament? And I was like, no, not really. Like that.
People, see, whenever the Northern Ireland Executive Formation Bill was going through last week, I know many people who are watching Parliament channels saying, wow, this is a change. They're voting on something which is not Brexit. Brexit was put thought into it, but the initial purpose of
everything is implicitly
everything is now been dragged into it, and you that's like they're dealing like although
doesn't the British know how we feel about the constitutional question? Everything about that.
Yeah.
This is what we have had for years.
Yeah,
years.
Like, well, fucking right.
We've had 3 years. We have had 30 of this.
That's why we're so well and so professional about it all.
They're really sick of it, and we're just like
3 years in, please.
Give 10 up by 10.
Yeah, they have no idea what it's like, but it's hopefully we don't get to that point. Now, just to wrap up, is there anything that our future, our choice, Northern Ireland are running in the next few weeks, months, decades of Brexit discussions that we're still yet to go through? Have you got events coming up? Have you got like campaigns running? Yeah,
we're going to be, so basically at the minute we're going to be kind of going across Northern Ireland, so we're going to be in Derry in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be doing Brexitometers on the street, really just to obviously gauge opinion. We're going to be holding those in Belfast as well. There's also a large event going to be happening in the fall that we can't completely talk about, but if you keep an eye out on our social media channels, you will most definitely see it, because we intend to have as many people there as humanly possible.
And that'll be a big event. I'm also attending Pride.
Oh yes,
Our whole Pride thing is that 70% plus of LGBT people support People's Vote and remain within the European Union. The LGBT community has benefited greatly from within the European Union in terms of the flow of rights, human rights, the advance of rights, that acceptance and tolerance has come into the European Union. So we're going to be there. It'll be a fun day out, and that's the whole point of Pride. Will be there for a protest to say Brexit ultimately will F your rights. Simply down. There may be a consequence of that. We'll be there to have fun, and it'll be a good day out.
Yes.
And there's also a few other events coming up.
Well, surely the LGBT community should be cheering on the divisions within the Conservative Party that have been brought about by Brexit, that have led to the legislation being passed in Parliament that is hopefully going to give us equal marriage.
Hopefully.
On the 21st of October, we'll see if that actually goes through. So they can thank Brexit for that as well, I'm sure.
Take one positive from it.
Feel free to use that in your event speech. That's on me.
Credits.
Yeah, you can just give us a shout out, obviously. But yeah, thanks very much, guys. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
A lot of
you.
fun to chat.